I think your body, your skin and body and hair, everything, I think it changes with the weather. It seem like, you know what I'm saying? Seem like in the summertime you get darker. It does. It feels like that. You can feel a difference in your skin. But anyway, this is what I want to talk about. The reason why the Bible was written in Hebrew, I mean, it was in Hebrew. It was translated from the Hebrew to the, it was translated to Greek and Latin, right? Latin language, right? So you got uh Cree. I'm just gonna say Creole. That's a Creole is just a language. Um, Latin is a language. Um, and Hebrew is a language. We all know that. It's a biblical original language. So the Bible, it tells you even in the New Testament that the Bible was written. Now, why was it written and translated into those languages? Now, if you go to let's go to Isaiah chapter 28 and verses 9 and 10, where it says that with another tongue and another language will God speak to his people, right? Now, why did that happen? If you go to Deuteronomy 28 deals with a whole bunch of list of curses that the people in the Bible, it's a chosen people of his. He said that if those people did not keep his commandments, right? If they didn't keep his commandments and da 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 this and that and the third, he said that these punishments will come upon you. These ass whoopings will come upon you. All these ass whoopings you're gonna have to get. You're gonna have to deal with. You're gonna have another curse. We gonna hate our brothers and sisters. That's another curse. Another curse is that your brother gonna look at you, your sister gonna look at you like what the hell you looking at over here at me for? They gonna give you a certain look. All those things, except those are ass whoopings and punishments and separation. Separate of the separation. That's another curse. We're separated from each other. We live in the same hood in neighborhoods, but we don't feel that connection with each other. We don't have that vibe. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about everybody else and leaving myself out. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm guilty of that. All those things I just said, I'm guilty of that. You see what I'm saying? I'm guilty of coming out, maybe looking at my brother and they looking at me and I'm like, what the hell they looking at me? What the fuck they looking at me like? What the hell? Like, you know what I mean? And then back in 2005 or six, one of them or seven, I looked at my brother. I experienced that. This was way before I even came into the truth because I didn't come into the truth until 2018. And I would just look at people because they didn't like women because the sisters that they didn't give me the attention that I wanted, and I developed a aggressive meanness toward them. You know what I'm saying? And so when I came into this truth, that's why I developed that. So the Most High said, because you have done that, I mean, we didn't keep His commandments. He said all these curses will come. So I said, okay. And when I went to hearing these things, because I never, even when I first heard it, I never said when I first heard it, and they say God doesn't love everybody. For some reason, it just resonated with it just made sense. I didn't try to dispute it. I didn't do any of that. I was like, man, I hope I'm an Israelite or whatever. But then when I would hear all those things, those curses and stuff, and those things, I'm like, maybe I am a part of this movement then, because it just went to just ringing a bell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it just went to ringing a bell. And so I'm like, hmm, that makes a lot of sense. It did. And so that's what made me actually come into it. But the Bible was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, right? And the reason it was, our language was taken away from us because we didn't keep the commandments. So we end up had to speak English. Our people had to speak. They had no other choice but to speak English. You know what I'm saying? They had to speak English uh, because our forefathers they didn't keep the commandments or nothing like that. All right, how y'all doing? Yeah, yeah. They didn't. Our forefathers they didn't keep the commandments and they didn't do none of that. So uh, that's why confusion is in the world. The so-called okay, hold on a minute, hold on. Oh, I hope they didn't hear music. That's why we got this thing so-called holy trash Quran. You see what I'm saying? Because the Quran is trash. Look at this thing. I had left this thing here. I don't know if it was a reason. Y'all tell me. Like, this is a 2023 calendar, right? I'm really too lazy to take it. Should I take this thing and bring it with me or what? Because I had it last night. I don't know why always finding stuff like maybe it might be for a reason. I don't know. Because it's still there. Because I had threw it on the ground because I had found it on the ground back there. Maybe it must be for a reason for me to take it then. You know, because it's a good count. It's a 2023. But anyway, that's not the topic of the video. But that I had a discussion with one of my family members. And they very sharp when they pretty sharp when it comes to they getting there sharp when it comes to biblical history and certain point of views and stuff. It was almost like it was a debate, but I'm gonna say more like it was an intelligent debate. We took time, we listened to each other, although we was talking at time, but it was still an intelligent thing. You know what I'm saying? It was like it was a kind of like a disagreement, but we disagreed, but we still was willing, we still was able by the grace of the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we still was able to sit there and hear each other out. He heard, he was willing to hear. I felt like he had, even though I feel like he didn't want to take time to hear me all the way out, but I think it was by the mercy of God. I guess he was trying, you know, so I got to give him credit for trying because I know he wanted to interject and I know he wanted to like, well, man, look, that's, he, you know, he was saying that the Bible was bullshit and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell? Like, so here's the question that I tried to challenge him with, but he wouldn't listen to me. I said, if you want to get from here to New York, how do you get there? If you've never been there before, nobody never gave you a map and told you how to get there. How are you going to get there? Will it be impossible to get there or will you still be able to get there even though you don't know? So I tried to say something to put into thinking. You feel me? I tried to do that. But we finally got to, we don't really collab. I think the reason why we ain't collabing too much is because um, when you really standing for the truth, and I'm not down, this is not degrading or nothing like that. It's just that some people just got to get more clarity on it. And then some people can be kind of offended. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause it's hard. It's very hard to give up something that you programmed into your brain all your life and you followed it. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's kind of hard. Not kind of. It is hard to give it up. It's hard to give up something that you've been following for years or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think to say that don't he disagree with certain point of views of what I'm saying, I think I still believe he's doing good. I told him, I said that God took him to that for a reason. But it seemed like, I know it seemed like I'm getting off the topic, but I don't want to get too far. But the Bible was translated, it was written by our prophets in the Bible, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So they had to study the prophecy. The Apostle Paul had to study it because you have to remember the Apostle Paul in the Bible, he can speak thousands of different languages. He spoke every nation and every tongue and language that you can think of. He spoke Greek. The Apostle Paul was able to speak. He was able to speak the words that he was speaking to people, trying to enlighten the people because he was killing the Christians. That's because he was up under the Greek customs, and the Apostle Paul was in that Gentile mind state of mind. And so, because he was in that Gentile state of mind, he had learned the customs of the Greeks, the so-called white people, and he was going around. He was killing the Christians. That's what he was doing because he was in that mindset to where he had a heathen mindset because that's what the heathens were doing. Because the heathens don't give a damn about keeping the commandments of God. They don't. They just don't. Heathens don't. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why they don't really too much. Now they'll sit over there and they'll try to mock you. They'll try to imitate the customs and stuff just like they doing over there in Israel. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are not the real Jews. Those are not the original people in that land. They over there practicing the customs and all that type of stuff. But those are not the original Jews. Those are anti. They are imposters over there. Anti-posters. Jewish people. Jewish people are fake people. They not the real Jews. They fake. They are the synagogue of Satan. Romans 2 and 9 says they are the synagogue of Satan. Romans 2 and 9. So that's what you have to look at. So that's the reason why. Then you got the Latinos. They speak in Latin language, just like the Roman Catholics. That is a Latin language because a lot of our fathers was following the Roman Catholics. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them was under that Roman Catholic stuff, just like my dad. From what I got out of him, he was up under that Roman Catholic stuff. You know what I'm saying? Somebody in my family told me, they said, boy, if your father would have been living and he heard you talk like that, he would be cussing you out and this and that and the third, and he would, Lord, I guess that's they trying to say we'll be in a debate or we'll be arguing. I guess that's what they're trying to say. You know, they probably, sometimes I wonder in my mind, they probably are thinking in their mind, I wonder what would Clarence's daddy do if he was alive and he saw his son uh, on the level where he at now with his mindset. How would his dad respond to him? You know what I'm saying? So I wonder that myself sometimes too. I'm like, I wonder. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the point. But anyway, I'm just explaining why they. All right, let me say it like this before I get to that. The Bible was written in Greek and it was written in Latin. The Latin is the Roman language and things of that nature because we have to understand then the Bible had to be translated into like Latin, it had to be translated into Greek. So the apostle Paul, a lot of times when he spoke to the people, he had to learn the language, so he had to speak to the Greeks. That's why he went to different parts of the world, like Spain. He went to, because you had a lot of Israelites who were scattered over there in Spain. You had a lot of Israelites who scattered all over the world, everywhere. You see what I'm saying? So you got different people. Our people went over there and they started speaking a different language. You see what I'm saying? They started speaking a different language. So in order for them to understand the Hebrew, it's the same thing, but it had to be spoken in English, and then he had to speak it in Portuguese and all of that. You know what I'm saying? He had to speak the Hebrew and the Portuguese and stuff like. It's the same thing, but it just had to be translated into different languages so that people can. It's the same thing, but they had to understand. They had to be translated like that so that people can comprehend the original. You see what I'm saying? So the Apostle Paul, he was able to do that. If you look in Acts chapter 22, you'll see that. If you look in First Corinthians, I believe it's 12:13, the Apostle Paul said, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, it profit me nothing. Like the tongues means though I speak with all these different tongues. That's what he's talking about. Speak with all these different languages, I mean. If though I have the gift, I can speak French, I can speak Portuguese, whatever you want to call it. He was able to do all it. Now, if you speak Hebrew, and if you actually spoke the original language Hebrew, I wouldn't know what the hell they talking about. Hold on. Like if somebody came up to me and spoke Creole, I wouldn't even know what the hell they talking about. I wouldn't even know what you saying, you know? Or like if they spoke what else? If they spoke let's see, I'm just trying to think of some other. The Assyrian, they got Assyrian language in the Bible. All of those. If they spoke the Hebrew in that language, I had to turn it off because of the music. But anyway, yeah, I would know what you. I wouldn't even know what to say. So you have to. I'm speaking about. I know all the English is the only thing that I know. So I have to. I could speak to people to what I know and give it to them in English because the Bible was translated by different authors like uh William Tyndale, Martin Luther, I believe. All of them took and they wrote the Bible and translated the Bible into what is called English. I mean, yeah, but the English is a European language, you know? So that's why, that's part of the reason why. If you look in, go look in, hold on, go look in where Christ was crucified in Matthew 27, and you look at how when they wrote the subscription up on his head, they put in on his forehead or something like that, it was written Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. They said, "This is the King of the Jews." Yeah, so it was a reason why it was done. The language, never, the Bible itself wasn't never. It didn't change. It's just the language changed. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But even though they tried to alter some things out the Bible, they took it out. They tried to take it from us, but for some reason, somehow our people still managed to be able to find the original scrolls, and that's why they got the thing called the Apocrypha, which I have that at my house. The Apocrypha means the lost books or the hidden books of the Bible. That's all. Somehow, no matter how they tried to change it, God's word was still never lost track of. But anyway, let's go back to my father. Somebody in my family said, "Boy, if your father would have been living now." Of course, I didn't really know him like that. The only thing I really know about him is that he just told me you just need to pick up a Bible and read. I was like 15 years old, and that was the only time I met my father, and the last time I seen him. Me and my two brothers, yeah, that was it. And we really didn't know that. I really didn't know nothing about him. He really didn't know nothing about us, and I didn't know nothing about him. And that's the way it was. So to say how he would respond, I think he might would listen to me for a while, but I think, in my opinion, I believe he probably would at some point he would interject. I think he would interject. You know what I'm saying? You know, and he would give his. I think he would give his. Now that's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know him like that. I never really asked him. Like I didn't even get a chance to ask him. Like ask my pops. Like, hey man, what's your nationality? Like if you had to go fill out an application or something, what would you put down there as your race or something like that? You know. So I didn't get a chance to communicate with him. We didn't even get to that point because back then my mind was into Walt Disney World. When I was 15 on down, like I said, my mind was like into a Walt Disney state, you know. So I didn't know what no history was. I didn't know what nothing was. I was totally oblivious to everything. You know, I didn't know nothing about history. I didn't know nothing about why we were here on the earth. I didn't know nothing. I didn't even know anything about nothing about the Most High God at all. I wasn't nowhere near that. But I do know that my father, in his day, from what the only thing I remember, I went in his room This was when I was 15 years old. I went in his room and I saw the Bible open in his room, and that was it. I never heard him read the Bible. I never heard him read it. I never heard him do none of that. You see what I'm saying? I never really heard him do that. All I know is that he just, I would say, my dad was a religious person. You know, I would say he might have been a spiritual person. Yeah, I would say he was a spiritual person. You know, um, but I don't know. I'm just assuming at the end of the day, because when you don't really know people like that, all you can do is you can just think, you can assume what the person could have done. All I know is how I reacted to it. This truth when it comes to God not loving everybody. I just say okay. I wanted to know more about it, you know. So my mind was open or whatever, you know. And I can only speak for me. I can't speak for him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like I said, I really, you know. But I would say this here much in. I hope that they were spirit that they, even though they went off, I feel like they went off because I was told that they were all that my grandfather and all them that I was always told the bad about them, like they was um Man, I hated that my thing had got cut off. So what I'm gonna have to do is just cut it out right now. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, and I'm gonna come back. Y'all just have to watch the video to the beginning of it to see. I was kind of giving a breakdown in my head, in my own way, of how the Hebrew, Greek, and that came about. How the Bible was written in three different languages. So I'm out. I'll see y'all later.